What if NATO stopped buying Russian oil tomorrow? What if every NATO country slammed 50 to 100% tariffs on China instantly? Donald Trump says that's the key to ending the war in Ukraine quickly. But could that really work? Or would it throw the entire world economy into chaos? Let's break it down. Here's what Donald Trump just posted on Truth Social. And I'm going to read it word for word because it's making headlines around the world. A letter sent by President Donald J. Trump to all NATO nations and the world. I am ready to do major sanctions on Russia when all NATO nations have agreed and started to do the same thing, and when all NATO nations stop buying oil from Russia. As you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%, and the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. Anyway, I am ready to go when you are. Just say when. I believe that this, plus NATO as a group, placing 50% to 100% tariffs on China to be fully withdrawn after the war with Russia and Ukraine is ended, will also be of great help in ending this deadly but ridiculous war. China has a strong control and even grip over Russia, and these powerful tariffs will break that grip. This is not Trump's war. It would never have started if I was president. It is Biden's and Zelensky's war. I am only here to help stop it and save thousands of Russian and Ukrainian lives. 7,118 lives lost last week alone. Crazy. If NATO does as I say, the war will end quickly and all of those lives will be saved. If not, you are just wasting my time and the time, energy, and money of the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. All right, that's a big claim. Sanctions, oil bans, massive tariffs, even calling out NATO allies directly. Let's unpack what he's saying, and then we'll look at whether this is bold genius, political theater, or an economic gamble. Trump says he'll support major sanctions on Russia only if every NATO nation stops buying Russian oil. According to Reuters, countries like Hungary, Slovakia, and Turkey are still heavily reliant on Russian oil. Despite EU sanctions, loopholes and shadow fleets of tankers allow Moscow to keep exporting. Russia earned nearly $425 billion from fossil fuel exports in 2022-2023 alone, which continues to bankroll the war. Trump is highlighting a real weakness here. Sanctions work best when airtight. But in practice, NATO unity has been messy. Some economies can't just flip a switch away from Russian oil without risking blackouts or price explosions. Trump proposes 50 to 100% tariffs on China, claiming this will break Beijing's grip on Moscow. China has become Russia's largest trading partner since Western sanctions, buying oil, selling electronics, even supplying dual-use goods. In 2024, China-Russia trade hit over $240 billion. Huge tariffs like these would be economic warfare. For comparison, the 2018 US-China trade war involved tariffs of 10 to 25%, and it already rattled global markets. A 100% tariff would double the price of Chinese goods overnight, from iPhones to car parts. Sure, it could pressure China, but it would also shock consumers in the US and Europe. Imagine Walmart shelves half empty, or prices through the roof. Trump says this is not Trump's war. It's Biden's and Zelensky's war. This fits his long-standing narrative. The war would never have started under his presidency. Critics argue this oversimplifies. Russia's invasion was driven by deeper issues: NATO expansion, Putin's ambitions, Ukraine's sovereignty. This is political positioning. Trump wants to brand himself as the man who can stop the war in 24 hours while blaming his rivals for the bloodshed. Whether that's realistic or just campaign rhetoric is a question we'll keep pressing. Scenario A. NATO obeys Trump's plan. Russia loses massive oil revenue. China faces crushing tariffs, pressures Russia to negotiate. Potentially faster peace talks. Scenario B. NATO resists. Energy-dependent members refuse to cut Russian oil. Sanctions remain patchy. Russia keeps funding the war. Scenario C. Retaliation. China strikes back with counter-tariffs. Global trade war erupts. Energy prices skyrocket in Europe. The risk is, do you end the war in Ukraine or start a new war in the global economy? That's the gamble. NATO has already spent billions supporting Ukraine, but unity is fragile. Europe is transitioning off Russian energy, but slowly. China's role is growing, and isolating it could be harder than Trump suggests. Trump's letter isn't just foreign policy, it's a campaign pitch. He's positioning himself as the deal-maker who can end wars through economic shock therapy. But history shows sanctions and tariffs are blunt tools. They hurt, yes, but they also create blowback. So what do you think? Would Trump's plan work, or would it backfire? Would you support paying more for energy and goods if it meant ending the war faster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading and replying. To recap, Trump says NATO must cut off Russian oil, hit China with 100% tariffs, and the war will end fast. Supporters call it tough leadership. Critics say it's reckless. The truth? The stakes are massive for Ukraine, for NATO, and for your wallet at home. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell because we'll keep tracking this story as it unfolds. And trust me, this is far from over.